Hello snakes, welcome back. It's time for the stories. Praise the to Tibbles, always happy to see them. Red flags, my friends. Yes, the majority of people today are absolutely celebrating communism in these stories. We begin with this two-parter. Am I the a-hole for going fishing the day my ex was giving birth? I, 29 male, ended a relationship with this woman, Maria, female 27, about 1.5 years ago. Our relationship was largely casual, and I made it abundantly clear to Maria that I didn't want a serious long-term relationship. Maria agreed since we had such wildly different values and beliefs, but after being together for about 11 months, she confessed that she wanted a serious relationship with the prospect of getting married. I declined, as I thought, and still think, we're way too different to start something like that. We continued our relationship for a few more months when Maria brought up marriage and starting a family again. She started saying things like how her family and friends liked me as well, and how we'd be a great fit. At this stage, I decided to break things off with Maria. I felt like we both wanted different things, and it was better if we went our separate ways. Maria was devastated by our breakup and begged me to remain in contact, so I did, and we kept a decently close friendship for the past 1.5 years. Now, since then, Maria's life has been through a downward spiral. She hasn't even gotten into any serious relationships. She's been in many, but they've only lasted 2 months at most, and most of the guys were not very good. This lifestyle has caused a lot of friction with her parents, and she tells me she no longer speaks with them because of it. Maria also failed out of graduate school and has struggled to find work before finally landing a job she hates a few months ago. One of the guys Maria was with got her pregnant at some point, and she was scheduled to give birth at some point last week. Leading up to the birth, Maria started calling me a lot, and she seemed very apprehensive. She told me that she was terrified of becoming a mom. I tried to reassure her that she'd make a great mom. I visited her several times in the past few months and helped her out whenever I could. So anyway, Maria ended up giving birth last week. On the day, I was going fishing with some of my old friends that I hadn't seen in a while. When I found out about the birth the following day, from one of Maria's friends, I called her and congratulated her. Maria sounded exhausted, but was happy that I called. But later that week, I started getting a lot of messages from Maria's friends telling me how I should have been there since Maria was so afraid. None of her family showed up, and she was hoping I'd come. One of her friends, Katie, female 28, was particularly angry. She said that I needed to be more supportive of Maria since she felt alone and I was abusing the trust Maria had in me. Now, honestly, I get helping out and being there for friends, but I feel like it wasn't exactly my responsibility. Also, she had 2 of her other friends, Katie and another girl, with her on the day of the birth, so I don't know what I could have added. Now, some quick context before judgment. For those wondering, the father is back in Austria, and there is like a 60% chance he doesn't even know about the kid. All of Maria's friends know he's the dad, but they just refer to him as some a-hole. And look, while I do want to maintain a cordial relationship with Maria, I have no interest in raising her child. Even more context. For those wondering, I knew the baby was supposed to be born last week. He was scheduled for Saturday, but the little guy decided he wanted to come earlier, so he was born on Wednesday. I left town Tuesday night and planned on coming back on Friday. The baby was born on Wednesday, and I only found out about it on Thursday. I called Maria afterwards and congratulated her. Now, I should note that I did not make any promises about being there for the kid's birth. Ah, suspicious, isn't it? Let's be fair to Maria, though. She wasn't the one snapping at OP for not being there. It was the friends. As much as she is clearly not over losing this guy, for all we know, she totally understands and respects the fact that he isn't in debt to her in this way. Now, interestingly, you're the a-hole for staying friends with her for so long and for continuing a casual relationship that was so much more to her when she communicated that you should have cut her off. You didn't let her have closure. Not the a-hole for going fishing, though, as you're not the daddy. Glad to see you've got the priorities in order there. And look, I get that. You knew how she felt about the situation, but you still kept her around anyway. Pretty scummy of you. But let's also remember she is also an adult too. As in, if she wanted closure, she should have had that by cutting him off. She isn't some dumbwit half-human. She's a full-ass human too. That goes for guys too. If she says she doesn't want anything serious and you keep trailing after her, that's all on you if you start feeling rejected and she starts like, quote-unquote, taking advantage of your generosity. You're not in the friend zone, mate. You just don't know how to take no for an answer. But yeah, that's where most of the yatars come from. Just the typical, she's an innocent woman, child, human. Her brain isn't fully developed. How could you take advantage of her love like this? I'm honestly saying this as a guy who was a hopeless romantic and a doormat like this. How I had people who just wanted something casual, didn't want anything serious, but I kept pushing for it, or I kept just going along with it anyway, feeling like, oh, if I just stick around, eventually they'll be into me too. So I'm not saying this from some sort of malicious, women what should take
accountable for their actions. I love Andrew Tate. Yeah, let me suck his willy.
I'm saying this from a genuine spot of like, ladies, you deserve better in your life. Anyway, top support was Nataz, believing that she had this fantasy where you bonded with the kid and came back to her. It's time to walk away. And look, that's a possible theory. I think it's a bit of a psychotic theory, if anything. Others saying that she's clearly looking for a daddy, and so you should probably back away from this relationship before she tries using a baby that's not even yours to baby trap you. So this all occurred mid-February, and it wasn't until 5 days later that he comes back with an update on things. Now, before I proceed with my update, I'd like to clarify a few points that have been raised. So many people have been wondering about my statement regarding Maria's values and beliefs not aligning with mine. By this, I meant that Maria and I differ on various topics such as religion, finances, and culture. While I do respect Maria and enjoyed my time with her for a long-term relationship involving marriage and children, I'd prefer someone who shares more similarities with me. My own family has also felt that Maria and I weren't a good match in the long run, though they did acknowledge her as a nice girl. Firstly, Maria and I have very different opinions on religion. I don't want to get too bogged down in the details, but I feel like this was a major obstacle to us forming a lasting relationship, especially considering how we both wanted children eventually. Second, we both come from different places financially. Maria is in a significant amount of debt, both student loans and credit card debt. Now, while I don't judge being in debt, I do think Maria could be more careful with her finances. Look, I admit that I have more privilege and perspective than her, so I might not fully understand her financial struggles, but nonetheless, during our time together, I felt that she would typically spend more than she should. And lastly, Maria and I have different cultural backgrounds. Though we're both Americans, we come from different walks of life, which was a point of contention for my family, especially my older sister, who's 36, and sometimes for even myself during certain points in our relationship. I'd also like to acknowledge that I'm fairly certain Maria still has feelings for me. Whenever we talk privately, she loves to reminisce about our time together and usually refers to it as the happiest time of her life. Not to mention, if I mention to her a date I've been on, I can tell it hurts her, but she tries to hide it. Oh man, I mean, that alone is enough of a flag of like, I cannot be genuine friends with you anymore. Like, at this point, dude, if you were sticking around being friends with her, quote unquote, you are actually being an a-hole. Like, damn, dude, I'm gonna have to completely 180 on everything I was saying before and defending you. I mean, what do you think? Because, like, at least while they were in a casual situation, she was abiding by those rules and still doing the things he wanted to do with her, while clearly yearning for something more. Obviously, she couldn't take it anymore, and they sort of broke up because of that. But in this situation, he's not bound to Maria anymore in any way. He's not gaining anything from her that he doesn't gain from just a normal friend in general. Like, unless you're poly, having a monogamous partner, even on a casual basis, is a bit more unique than the friendships you have all around you. So she's sticking around in this friendship, clearly yearning for something more, but like there's no obligation on either end to stick around for that. But he keeps giving her the attention that she's clearly wanting. I don't know, it's... Yeah, where do you stand on this? Please help me. I'm stuck. Okay, moving on to the update. Now, I spoke with my older brother, Brad, over the phone since posting, and he said that he thinks it's time Maria and I completely part ways. Our differences were already big, and now with her having a child, it's completely unrealistic for anything to ever work out between us. Brad believes that by maintaining contact, I'm only giving Maria false hope of us getting back together. He also thinks that given how Maria's friends reacted to my absences, it's clear they're all hoping we get back together. Thanks, older brother. You've basically sorted out this entire debacle I was having in my head in the first place. I hoped I'd be able to remain friends with Maria, but after hearing my brother and doing some self-reflection, I realized that I couldn't do so in good faith. I don't plan on suddenly cutting contact since Maria just had a baby and all, but I will be winding down contact in the coming weeks and months. However, for the next month or so, I will most likely act like I normally do, since it is a very difficult time for her, and her social circle is already small. So Monday evening, I got a call from Maria. We chatted for a bit, and she mentioned how she'd like me and some of our other friends to come and meet the baby in a few weeks when he gets bigger and stronger. I did agree to this, and we'll all be getting together at her place in about a month to see the little guy. She also shared some photos of him with me and again mentioned her nervousness about raising him alone. When I asked about the father, she admitted she hadn't spoken to him in a while, which is frustrating. Now, aside from this, there isn't much else to report. I wish Maria all the best and hope she finds her way through parenthood. So that's right. After agreeing to just cut contact from her, what does he do? Agrees to go and see her. I mean, all the comments are just yelling at him for it. Like, okay, dude, this is not cutting contact. This is laying the groundwork for her to use as leverage to say that the baby loves you and misses you and needs to have you in his life. Just block her and be done with it.
My brother told me to do the sensible thing and cut contact, which I will do. Just let me become even slightly more involved with her kid than I currently am and go spend time with her and her friends who want me to get back with her in person first. That absolutely can't go wrong.
Meanwhile, in an updated post.
So it was a huge mistake to go, and I wish someone had told me not to go. I was ambushed by her friends who demanded I get back with her, and just to placate them, I agreed. I wish someone could have warned me.
So what do you think? I think this is one of those few cases where an OP goes from Nita to Yeta, very validly. Yeah, that phrase makes sense. Shut up, any English teachers reading or listening to me right now. I think this comment has a very good point here. You're not a drug that needs to be weaned off of. I mean, honestly, let's be real here. The fact he accepted to go and meet the baby, to her is butterflies in her stomach. It really has to make you wonder if he is just this dense or he clearly just likes the attention of her. I mean, she clearly was a lot of fun to be casual with, despite them having almost no actual chemistry beyond the physical. I suppose this isn't totally concluded yet, so we'll just have to keep our ears peeled. Wait, is that the phrase? Ears peeled? Hang on. Oh no, am I saying things wrong? Oh, thank God. I am right. It's not eyes. I thought it was eyes, but also, no, eyes peeled is also a thing. Oh God, English language. Why are we so confusing? And now for a man who realizes the real red flags was the family he had along the way. I've only just realized that I let the men I call my family and friends ruin my marriage. I've been divorced for almost 2 years, and a few weeks ago, my father, 67 male, my 2 brothers, 37 and 40, and 4 friends, 35, 37, 38, 41, don't worry, you don't need to worry about the ages here, while very drunk, joked about how they can't believe I left my wife. They said that they all tried to get with her since the divorce, but she had repeatedly rejected them, saying it would be inappropriate and unkind to do such a thing to me. I laughed at what they were saying just to ease them into saying more, and once they thought I found it funny, they really opened up. They had all purposely made me feel paranoid about my ex-wife cheating on me and using me, because why would a woman like her be with a man like me if it wasn't for the money I made? They often hinted at, or sometimes even directly said, that she wore the pants in the relationship and that she was only with me because I'm easily manipulated. They constantly planted negative things into my mind. If I went to talk with them about something happening in my relationship, they would put a negative twist to it, or they'd purposely give me bad advice. Then, when I lost my job during COVID, they all hinted at how she's definitely cheating now that there's no financial benefit in being faithful to me. I obviously trusted them and often took their words to heart, and it ruined my marriage. I frequently argued with my wife, and I was always accusing her of something or suspecting her of not really loving me. I questioned everything that was between us. I often told her stupid things like how I'm a high-value man and that she needed to appreciate me, and when I was not working for 6 months, I flipped the script and started accusing her of not respecting me for not working. I was unappreciative of all her hard work and for being the one who took care of our household bills and any other bill during those 6 months of unemployment. I continued to let their words drive me into paranoia, and I started accusing her of cheating with her coworkers. Eventually, and understandably, my wife had enough of my moods, constant mistrust, and accusations. She left me, and to be honest, for a long time it felt like it came out of nowhere, and so I had myself convinced she left me for another man. Now here I am, knowing that every man I've called my family, my friends, were all my enemies who I let destroy my marriage. I obviously lost my mind once they were done telling me all the ways they conspired to ruin my marriage, and we did get to blows. I cut off all contact with each and every one of them. I want to reach out to my ex and make amends and hopefully get her back. My ex-wife has agreed to meet up with me, and she doesn't know exactly what I want to discuss with her, and I don't know how to go about making amends and hopefully mending our relationship. How do I tell her how much I regret everything and that I want her to give me a second chance? Is there even a second chance for us? I just gotta say, what a horrifying revelation to have about the people you trusted most in your life to have your back. Now look, I know it's easy to kind of balk at all this and be like, haha, that's what you get for listening to some sexist a-holes over your own wife. But let's be real here. This wasn't just one toxic family member or one toxic friend constantly saying rumors about your partner. This was over 7 people who were close to you in your life, who up till now have always proven to you, or you've managed to trust, would only tell you what they think is worthwhile for you to know, for your safety and happiness. Doesn't matter if they're fully correct or not in what they were telling you. You would trust that they're saying it out of love and care for your, well-being. It comes back in an edit saying, look, some of y'all keep saying you took the words of your friends over your wives. And look, I don't think that's a fair or complete assessment. I trusted my father and brothers. My father was the main driving force behind this manipulation campaign, and it's not often that your entire family is conspiring against you. And not only your family, but your friends. Look, I'm not running away from the fact or of accepting the fact that it is wholly my fault in how my marriage ended. I take ownership of that. I take ownership of the fact that I accused my wife of being a cheater or a user, and I regret it all. If my ex-wife doesn't accept my apology, I would accept it gracefully. If she said she never wanted to talk to me or ever get back together, I'd also accept it. I would not stand in the way, and I would not try to change her mind. I would wish her well and leave her be. See, it's knowing that he's already kind of accepted that he still took part in all of this that I'm not so quick to jump on the, haha, this is what you get, you stupid idiot, train. But what do you think? Do you think that still doesn't give him an excuse? Again, I think of any of the people in my life who I trust most to always give me the right advice. And then one day to suddenly have them like all jokingly laugh that they were actually just pulling my leg or doing it so that they could take advantage of the situation themselves. I just don't see how you could become the idiot or the a-hole in general. More importantly, how disturbing is it to know that your dad and brothers tried to get with your wife? Like not only betraying you to ruin the relationship, but to confess they did it purely so they could try and bang. Now, despite all my sympathy I'm projecting towards him, I do also agree with this person's comment as well. As a woman, if I had to deal with my husband's insecurities and constant accusations of not being a faithful wife only after his money, etc. for years before I finally accepted that I had to divorce him, I would be done for good. And for him to come back 2 years later to tell me his family and friends got into his head and made him think all those terrible things about me, the only reaction I would have would be, too little, too late. And yeah, it's true. I mean, let's again think about all the things he was saying to her and accusing her of, like that he's a high-value man, and the moment he loses his job, he still manages to like grip desperately on the thread of I'm alpha male, you must submit to me, woman. Oh. It does make you ponder if maybe this meeting is honestly maybe just for his benefit and really has actually nothing to do with her. He's just wanting closure himself of assuring her that, I'm not actually an idiot. See, I was just fooled. And hey, look, in case you want the juicy tea on how the little scuffle went, well, I didn't include the violence that broke out once I heard it all because I didn't want to get my post banned. But yes, blood was absolutely spilled. And of course, I had my butt beat because it was 7 against 1. But I did do damage and an ambulance and the police were called. None of us pressed charges against each other and left it at that. But honestly, I am still raging and have been heartbroken since. So yeah, ultimately, I do agree that there's no way she really owes him anything to be in her life, nor does he. Like, again, I feel sorry for the guy's situation, but he ultimately chose to stick with their path of vilification and this toxic misogyny. I mean, I guess misogyny is already toxic as is, but you get my point. Like, yeah, the best he can hope for is forgiveness. Anything more than that, he's being absolutely selfish. Now, here's a fun one from 2 days ago, titled, I, 35 female, am going to turn up at the house of the guy I like, who's male 45. How do I play it? And oh, folks, they got so much flack that they just completely rewrote their post to say, edit, deleted this post because of all the hatred and insults. There's far too many people making too many assumptions about both me and him and our lives without reading the full post. This is a violent response versus the same situation about it with friends and other subs. A lot of you seem hurt and paranoid. So then what's the original story that's got everyone so riled up in calling the OP insane? During the class, we had a lot of very rare things in common and got on well. I really liked him. Afterwards, he asked if I'd like to stay for a drink, and I kind of ran off. He then asked me to go around 2 days later, which is unusual and unnecessary for yoga. And he asked for a type of yoga that involved more one-to-one connection. So I took that to mean he obviously liked the class, and he possibly, or probably, liked my company. I said no because, 1, it's not wise to have classes that close together at first, and 2, I was booked that evening anyway. Well, following that, he went to Europe. I messaged him, but I didn't know what to say, so I seemed quite weird in the messages. He was dry with his texts, but that could be his style. I mean, he is 45 and busy, so I understand he wouldn't want to exchange many texts. But he changed his profile picture straight after the yoga class, from one of a landscape to one of him smiling. I had mentioned to him that I considered it suspect that he had no face picture, jokingly. So following that, in early December, he said, did I want to have coffee with him at the end of January? But this is where it gets sad. I took that as a brush off. It seemed so far away, so I said I was going to block him and blocked him. I then apologized for being reactive and explained why and said I'd love to have coffee, but he didn't receive it. He had blocked me after I blocked him. I then deleted his number, and I think he deleted mine. But I have his address. So now the only way of reaching him is to go to his place. So what time of day or evening should I go, and how should I play it? It's a bold move, but I am willing to risk it. At worst, I could seem desperate and crazy, and I'll risk that because, realistically, I'm not. I doubt I'll make him feel threatened, because in person, I am not threatening. I thought about sending a note, but that could seem threatening, and we'd have no chance to talk about why I felt the need to go there. Thank you, everyone. Also, I am not worried about professionalism here, as it was clearly more than that due to the time I was with him and the range of topics discussed. So the man, who you have already agreed is a clearly busy guy, asked to book in well in advance to meet up with you. He offers to see her, and she treats that as, you're not into me because you asked to meet me. What? I'm sorry, this might be my male brain thinking, perceiving all this, but is this, what's a brush-off experience for you? Hell, even if you're a guy and you've experienced a sort of vibe towards someone, what makes you think someone's brushing off an actual experience with you when they ask you out? So naturally, this kept getting downvoted, so she was getting really upset with that, and then making a strategy based on some people actually supporting her idea. So I drop a note off saying, hey, I was passing. I am in X Cafe by your house if you want to swing by. Oh, wow. I can see him falling head over heels in love with her the second she shows up uninvited instead of calling the police. Everyone knows stalkers are the best lovers and great people instead of creepy and dangerous. Yeah, okay, if this story and caricature of a human is real, she keeps saying that he blocked her because he was hurt that she rejected him. But it honestly seems that he blocked this volatile woman who was weird in chats and who acted aggressively towards him out of nowhere. He's definitely realized she's more trouble than she's worth, and no doubt. So what do you think, folks? Red flag? 35-year-old acting like a 14-year-old sort of energy? Or is she merely just a guy in love? I mean, a girl in love. Everyone knows the most romantic thing you can do is to keep pushing, keep fighting for a relationship. Fight for the people you want in your life. He blocked you? That just means he wants you to fight for him. Go on, do it. It works for the incels, it'll surely work for you too. Over to our next red flag. Seriously, if this guy sticks around after this, I'm pretty certain he's just into it. Am I the a-hole? I made a minor mess like a cat would, so my fiance would know what he's getting into before we get one. So my fiance really wants a cat, and I understand. They're nice pets, but I grew up with a cat and he doesn't, so I don't really think he understands how hard it can be to take care of one. He said that it would be so easy because they just use the bathroom and the litter box and don't need much attention. But I know it's not that simple. For background, he knows he would have to take care of it most of the time because he's unemployed and looking for work. Meanwhile, I'm constantly busy because I'm trying to get through nursing school. I'm just afraid I'll end up having to look after the cat a lot more than he would. That's how it was with the fish we used to have. My fiance forgot to feed it multiple times. So Friday night, before he went over to play poker with some friends, I found this to be the perfect opportunity to have some of my friends over, as my fiance doesn't like my friends. Him and I had a little argument about the cat again before he left. He insisted that it would be easy and he would clean up after it and everything, but I just can't believe him after the fish. And he tries to say that cleaning up things like vomit really isn't that bad when I know how gross it can be. So here's where I might be the a-hole. My friends and I were drinking and watching movies, and I'll admit, we drank a little much. I was complaining a bit about my fiance, and so the argument was on my mind. Eventually, I started to feel really sick, and I jokingly suggested that I throw up on the floor and make my fiancé clean it so that he actually sees how gross it is. My drunk friends actually encouraged me to do it, so I didn't go to the bathroom, and I ended up vomiting on the hardwood floor in our apartment. Nobody cleaned it up, anticipating that he would clean it up to understand the struggles of having a pet. I know it sounds a little ridiculous, but it was drunk logic. The next morning when my fiancé came home, he was furious and screamed at me for doing such a nasty thing. I felt a little bad, but at the end of the day, that's the sort of thing that happens when you have a pet. You come home to vomit on the floor. And again, he comes from a place of not really understanding that's a part of having a pet like a cat. I really did want him to clean it up. He yelled at me, calling me crazy, and honestly, his refusal to clean up, I think shows he's not ready to take care of a pet. Oh my god, this is the orange peel theory going way too far. Seriously, let's apply this logic in other aspects of life in general.
My boyfriend eventually wants a child, and I don't. So I defecated my pants and made him wipe my bum to prove to him it's not as easy as it seems to have a child.
As of now, he's really not talking to me, and I know this sounds weird, but both of us are being so stubborn that none of us have yet cleaned the vomit as of today. He's been out with his friends most of the weekend because he's so mad, but I really think he should step up and show he's ready for that sort of responsibility. So, Reddit, am I the a-hole? There are so many ways to prepare oneself for the duties of pet ownership. Creating a human-sized biohazard to test your partner? It's certainly one of them. Now, there is some nuance to the opinions here. Firstly, everyone sucks here. You for this stupid test, and your boyfriend for wanting a pet he can more easily neglect. Look, maybe he doesn't like your friends because they suck. Who tells someone to make a mess on purpose to prove a point? A tiny cat is not going to throw up as much as a drunk adult, and for you to leave it there for days expecting him to clean it, you need to grow up. You shouldn't be in a relationship if you think these sort of childish tests are the way to solve minor conflicts. Yeah, looking at you, people who get dating advice on TikTok. But also, I hate people who say they want cats because they just potty in a litter box and take care of themselves. They are an animal dependent on you for their survival. You're not wrong for saying he shouldn't get a cat. You are wrong for how you handled it. And what's strange to me is that this one actually got a lot of downvotes. Because I'm sorry, but I am absolutely agreeing with the girlfriend here about the fact that it's so much more than this. I say this as someone who today had to move Mr. Tibble's litter box to 2 different spots in the room because he was being so particular at where he had to pee and poo throughout the day. Honestly, fellow cat owners, is that a sign of anything? He refused to use the litter tray until I moved it to one corner of the room where he finally peed. Then, when he came to poop, he refused to use it again until I moved it back to its original spot. I love the guy, but goddammit, we don't have 2 toilets, Mr. Tibbles. Why should you get 2? I do love the other safer suggestions to testing your boyfriend's ability to own a cat, though. I thought Opie was going to knock things off the counter while staring him down. I was afraid she had bought a litter box and peed in it. So either way, despite the nasty, what are your thoughts here? Who's more of the red flag in this scenario? The boyfriend who's proven not to actually be very loyal to owning and taking care of their pets, considering they've already forgotten to take care of the fish all the time? And also, isn't it all attuned to OP's friends? I mean, that's a pretty bad sign of the relationship if he doesn't at all like the friends you enjoy being with. But at the same time, is she more the red flag because she's clearly hanging around with such an immature group of people and hasn't wisened up to that yet? Now, OP came back in an edit, which honestly makes me feel like they're both their own red flags. So after reading the responses, I see what I did was probably over the top and I should clean it. I told my fiance I would clean up this time and apologize for making the mess and hope we can talk about the cat situation. He said that he would forgive me this time if I flashed my bazoongas. They are D-cups. I flashed him and we are moving on. Ah, yes. That absolutely communicated and resolved the conflict you both have towards one another. Show me your body so I can be too distracted to focus on my feelings here. Please. I'm too scared to be confrontational. Flirtation attack. I don't know. I just don't see that as a good omen for their marriage to go ahead. Anyway, though, I'll leave things there. Thank you as always for watching. I hope you had a good time and drinking water and keeping fresh. But until next time, I love you face and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.